Hi there, friends. I'm Vasco. I'm part of the team behind the first global Scrum Master Summit. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from all over the globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit and the numeral 21. That's bit.ly/SMSUMMIT21. We have 7 amazing keynotes or more, as we are still organizing the conference as I record this, and 8 tracks that feature people like you and thought leaders sharing their insights and knowledge to help you become an awesome Scrum Master. So once again, check it out at bit.ly/SM Summit 21. That's all lowercase, all one word, SM Summit and the numeral 21. I'll see you on the virtual conference floor. All right, now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Sarah Finn. Hi, Sarah. Welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Great to be here.
So, Sarah, on Fridays, we talk Product Owner because, of course, the Product Owner is one of the key roles in the whole Scrum framework. In fact, in the latest Scrum Guide, the 2020 version of the Scrum Guide, the Product Owner is now officially a team member, which is great because I had been arguing for that for many years already. I think it's a logical evolution of the Scrum framework. But because the product owner is now part of the team, they are also a critical counterpart for the work we do as Scrum Masters. So let's talk about what we can learn from multiple examples of what good and bad product owners are. Let's start with the bad so that we may end up on a high. Share with us, Sarah, what might have been potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career?
Okay, another great question, Vasco there. Which an anti-pattern that I've witnessed numerous times, to be honest, with a product owner, is the inability to say no. So they default to saying yes to everything. And just to explain that a little bit more, and the context a little bit more, is the product owner is the touch point for stakeholders. So they liaise with stakeholders and then they liaise with the team. And a lot of the time, what you can find with stakeholders is they have so many ideas, lots of ideas, and they can come depending on how many you have and how many stakeholders your team is supporting. But they could change.
Or their importance in the organization, because that also matters, right?
Absolutely, definitely. But they could change, their minds on a weekly basis, daily basis, sometimes. And again, and just on your point, Vasco, there, depending on the importance they are in the organization, sometimes product owners can feel it can be quite challenging for them to say no or to question the value from that request.
And as a Scrum Master, of course, when you see that, you need to react because ultimately the team will suffer if you do nothing. So what have you learned from those experiences about what actually works when working with these people to get them to learn to have, clear priorities and be able to say no in the end?
Yeah. So what we found and what you could imagine, the team had different priorities changing, at a rapid pace. So obviously within Scrum and within Agile in general, we welcome change. Change happens, and there's great opportunity in that because it ensures that we deliver something of value at the end because we've taken in new information and new use cases and all that kind of thing. But when change is happening at too much of a rapid pace, whereby there's very little direction, there's very little safety protection for the team, that can prove challenging. And what it resulted in was a lot of the teams that I've worked with not delivering on anything of value at the end of a sprint. So we needed to go and chat with the product owner to see what the challenges were there for him. And the challenges for him were quite immense, and I did feel for him as a Scrum Master around how difficult that was. So we had a discussion around how we would manage that a little bit better. So what we said would be a good starting point was just to have a discussion with the stakeholders around what the process was for briefing in requests and working. And what was the process for when something new was to come through.
So for
So
accepting ideas coming from the stakeholders.
exactly. So what we found was that stakeholders and this particular product owner had stakeholders from multiple areas within the organization that were trying to filter requests through one team. So this was an online team that would have delivered multiple websites, multiple apps for the organization, depending on their different products. And it was only one team, and that was broken. It was 20 team of 20 broken down into teams of 3, into scrum teams of 3. So our resources were limited. So the product owner eventually felt he needed to try and address this as best as possible, and with the support from myself and also the team on doing it. So what we managed was to try and experiment again with the stakeholders, whereby we would plan each quarter of what we were going to deliver each quarter. And we would accept ideas the whole way through, any time, not any time, but any day of the week. We would absolutely accept initiatives and requests and projects that might be brought through. But we would prioritize what we were working on to deliver on each quarter. And we would have a weekly call whereby, if there was a new project or a new request, whereby the stakeholders felt we needed to drop something that we were currently working on to prioritize that, we absolutely could. But we needed to have the conversation as a group together before that was actually was actioned. So everybody seemed to be on board with that, and it was the support there for the product owner as well. So I would attended those sessions with the product owner, supporting him in that. And what we actually found was when we had those weekly calls, and when these absolutely we must do this right now came down the line, and we had a chat about it, and we put it to them that we would need to stop working on something else that was going to deliver huge amount of potential and value at the end, that they felt, no, it's not actually that important. We can wait. The thing that you're working on is more important. So we just created the opportunity again to share the insights and to share information. And again, kind of going back to that inclusive decision making together, so that everybody was aware, there was transparency and a collaboration effort to deliver out what we agreed to deliver at the end of the quarter. So that was really good to work with the product owner around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great example of how Scrum Masters can add immense value to an organization by creating the dialogues that are necessary to handle, in this case, very important processes, but that in this story you share, the product owner didn't feel comfortable or even safe to take the lead at defining those processes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And again, it was coming back to that common purpose, that we want to be successful. Like stakeholders, they have their commitments to their end users, to management, to multiple people. So they need to, I suppose, ensure that they have a part to play in that. So it's ensuring that there is space there to allow the team to deliver. And what this did was ensured that the team had the space, but also that they had the opportunity to flag anything that was hugely valuable that maybe need to be started sooner rather than later. So it was a good balance between the two.
Absolutely. That's a great story. And now we turn our attention to the opposite, the mirror image of the bad product owner anti-pattern, the potentially best product owner you've ever worked with. Share that story with us, Sarah.
Yeah, so I worked with an amazing product owner a couple of years back, and she was amazing. And I was on reflection of this and looking at the question, I really wanted to pin down what it was. And to me, I think it was very much her approachable nature. There was always time. So she gave her time to me as a Scrum Master and also to the team. And what it seems like, very much so to stakeholders, um, she created such a balance of instilling that common purpose, and again looping back in with, if there's challenges and change, that is very much the norm. Nothing seemed to worry or exceed kind of any frustration that I could see within her. That she was very much had things on track, and was very open and wanted to learn from the team and also from stakeholders.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you said, I want to come back to and perhaps explore a little bit more, which is this, you said approachable, but you also
Mm,
said always had time, right?
yeah.
And of course, we know that product owners, just like many other, leading roles in any organization, are incredibly busy people with
Hmm.
lots of demands for their attention and time. And perhaps one of the things that I would like to understand better from this story is what led that particular product owner to make the time, right? Because I'm sure that this product owner would have had other demands and other requests for their attention. So what do you think was driving that ability to separate, ability to carve out the time that the team needed?
I think at the beginning, when the product owner joined, she had a vast amount of experience working as a product owner with multiple teams in house and also remotely. And we had a great discussion at the beginning around the value of the Scrum ceremonies and ensuring that we attend those and gain as much as we can from them. And from the get go, she was on every planning session, every review session. She would make a point of dropping by maybe two or three stand ups within the sprint. And actively would reach out if if she couldn't attend a stand up. How did things go? Is there anything you'd like me to follow up on? Always asking questions. So it was like, what it seemed was that she made time and really valued the Scrum ceremonies and used those as her opportunities to be available for the team, and to be able to follow up, or to gain information for what she needed to follow up on, to ensure that they were successful with their sprint goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to highlight one thing you said. At the very beginning, we had a conversation about the Scrum ceremonies, why they are important, and how they help the team. Like, this is so critical because
Hmm.
sometimes it is as simple as that, as the product owner not understanding the potential consequences of their behavior.
Hmm. Exactly. A lot of the time, as you said, product owners are stretched, very, very thinly, and they're trying to reach on multiple things. And when they see a sprint planning session that might be, a 2 hour long session or an hour long session, depending on the iteration, um, they kind of think, oh, I can't, dedicate 2 hours to that. It'll just be too much. It'll eat into too much time. But what they're not seeing is what they're gaining from that. So the value of the information that they're gaining will allow them to have a really great overview of what the outcome will be at the end, and any issues that they might need to follow up on, instead of having to schedule multiple, possibly one-on-ones with the Scrum Master or with the team or with stakeholders around it, that they're very much getting the information that they need and providing the information that is required within those 2 hours, or as I said with the other ceremonies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great story, and also an inspiring story that it is possible to have product owners that are present. I say this because when I did the product owner survey a while back, and people can find the link to those results on the show notes, we heard from many people that the biggest problem that they had was that the product owner was absent.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just shared with us is exactly the opposite, right? A product owner that was present.
Yeah. Because a product owner that is absent, and I've experienced it many times, it just really leads to a lot of uncertainty and clarity around it in so many different ways in regards to what they're trying to deliver, and if there's clarity needed on some issues that they're coming across, if there's a change in anything that they might need to address themselves, but also in regards to the commitment and value of the team. So if the product owner is not attending the planning session or the review session, some team members, might feel undervalued, or that the product owner's commitment is not there to what they're delivering. So it sends a lot of other messages outside of the norm of the issues that can be created when the product owner is not available. So it's important, I think, for team health, to ensure that they know that what they're working on is valuable, and that they are contributing to something greater to help the end user.
Absolutely. Very well said, Sarah. Thank you very much for being with us here on the podcast, this week. Unfortunately, we're getting close to the end. But before we do go, Sarah, share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so Vasco, I'm usually more active on LinkedIn at the moment. I think I shared my my URL with you there earlier, and also on Twitter as well. You should have those details.
Absolutely, and we'll put the links on the show notes so that you guys can also connect with Sarah and share stories and hear her stories as well. So, Sarah, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
It was amazing to be here, Vasco. Thanks so much for the invite, and take care.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.